Hello everybody, this is Fernando for the latest Ghosts and Spirits Encounters video. While I'm waiting for your new suggestions to come on by for my new videos, I thought I would mix this one in here and talk about a pretty scary situation involving a user who met the ghost of a man, apparently a baby killer. This is something that when I was reading it, I definitely wanted to showcase it here because I'm also going to comment on it with regards to my own experience about a watchful ghost. But it comes from the reddit.com website. They're from the subreddit called Real Ghost Stories. It's a user called DZTV, and they titled theirs as the MacDonaldtown Murderers Ghost, John Makin and My Experience. So let's go ahead and let's share this info here. Again, I'll post my own comments as well, and then I'd love to hear what your thoughts are associated with it too. So here's essentially what this user stated. Let me start off by saying I don't believe in the paranormal. I'm a skeptical person and believe that there's a scientific reason for any ghostly interaction, such as this story that I'm about to tell. That being said, there are coincidences here that have been quite difficult for me to debunk, and so I like to share it with the internet. I live in Sydney, Australia, and when I turned 21, I decided to move out of my family home. A coworker of mine was also relocating and offered his room to me. It was in a shared house in Redfern, an inner city suburb around notable areas such as Erskineville, Newtown, and a capitulated, for lack of a better term, suburb known as MacDonaldtown. My colleague helped me with the move. My new home was this grungy, old Victorian-style house filled to the brim with dark paintings that one of my housemates created. There were copious amounts of spiders and bugs crawling around. Sometimes you would hear rats scratching at the walls, and most notably the air was so thick with smoke that it was hard to breathe. My housemates were nice, and it was a super cheap living until they raised the rent a month later. Regardless, during the move, my friend remarked that I should quote-unquote beware of the ghost. Assuming he was joking, I laughed it off and poked fun at him about it. He explained, "The ghost used to live here, in the room you're taking way back in the late 1800s, early 1900s or something. He won't harm you, but he likes to watch." Being a little creeped out at the thought, I laughed again, asking why this so-called ghost would just watch. According to my colleague, he was a baby killer, and the babies are still stuck in the plumbing, and that he's admiring his work. And so I dropped the topic, assuming he was just effing around with me, and never thought about it again until 3 months later. For context, as this was my first time living with people I've never met, I was quite paranoid. It took me a long while to warm up to the housemates, and as a result, I absolutely always locked my door. It was a non-negotiable. Whether I was in the room or not, the door and the window were always closed and locked. So when I woke up one night noticing that my door was slightly ajar, I panicked. I remember I was quite dazed and confused, but when I noticed the door was open, I felt a horrible sensation. I began to think I was being robbed, and I couldn't move out of fear. I couldn't see much of anything for a while and didn't feel any other presence in my room, so I started to think if I'd really forgotten to close the door. I definitely remember shutting it and locking it, and about 5 minutes passed, and that's when I noticed a silhouette in the door opening. It was dark, but my eyes had finally adjusted, and now I could see a face. I called out to it fairly loudly, asking, "Tim, is that you?" Tim being the housemate in the room closest to me, but no response. What felt like another 5 to 10 minutes passed, and the whole while I was stuck in a trance-like state, what I've since discovered to be sleep paralysis. This entire time I was staring at the silhouette, and it hadn't budged. I could finally make out that person's face. It was an old man. He had a thick mustache and was just staring back at me, softly smiling. It was terrifying, but the next thing I know, I'm awake with light shining into my eyes. It's about 10 a.m. now, and I'd slept in. I supposed to myself that it was just a horrible dream and that my brain was playing tricks on me, and so I rolled onto my side, and immediately I felt that same horrible sensation as if my stomach had dropped. Looking towards the door, it was open the exact same way as it was in this dream that I've convinced myself of. For years, that was the end of the story, but then in December 2020, I decided to tell this on my live stream. I was explaining that it was likely just a dream and there's always a reason. Upon hearing my story, one of my reviewers asked, "You're not talking about the MacDonaldtown Murderers, are you?" I inquired what that was, and she explained that it has something to do with an old couple who used to kill babies, shoving the carcasses in the plumbing. She took a minute and then sent me an article where a picture of an elderly couple was displayed. That man's face is exactly as I remember it. To summarize, the article explains the story of Sarah and John Makin, who would baby farm, i.e. the act of raising children for unwed mothers, raising them for a fee. They'd kill the babies for an incredible profit, hide the bodies in places like pipes of rental properties, and then move through various suburbs in the area I was living. This was my retelling of this story live and my reaction to the article. And recently I was reminded of this ghostly interaction, so tell me, what do you think of this? I'd love to know what your thoughts are. Then that's it. That's everything that the user, in this case DZTV, mentioned in their encounter. So let's go ahead and let's talk about that here. First off, it looks like it's a shout out to those of you that are out there in the Sydney, Australia area, specifically in those suburbs called Erskinesville, Newtown, and another one called MacDonaldtown. If you happen to be by that area, you may have a chance to be able to go see this home itself, especially if it's a notable home, like let's say if it stands out as a known location, and then see the exact home that I'm talking about and see what's haunted about it. But yeah, interesting stuff. No, here you have this person moving out there into the home, moving in with roommates as well, and then all of a sudden, as their first day moving in, they're told about the ghost. They're told to beware of the ghost, and then that it likes watching people. That's pretty creepy. That instantly reminded me of the encounter I had there in Fort Concho, there in San Angelo, Texas. Earlier in the year, I stayed there by myself. I went there. It was a great time. I was able to just spend the whole night by myself over there. Well, almost the whole night. But I stayed there, and specifically in the officers' quarter 1. And I did not expect this. I did not expect the ghost of the little girl Edie to be someone like this ghost here, someone that just likes watching. Now, I never fully saw Edie, not like this user did as far as that silhouette and the face and the smile and so on. No, I never saw Edie in person, but I definitely felt her presence. I knew she was in the room, and I knew she was looking at me, not in like a bad way, like a harmful way, but still, she was watching. And that sensation of you just being watched, knowing that something is there, but you can't quite make it out, that really is creepy. I absolutely wholeheartedly know what this author is going through because I myself encountered it. So it does make for a really creepy night, and it makes it really hard to sleep as well. In fact, I had to actually go sleep in my car because I just couldn't with Edie just constantly being in the room or staring at me. So I decided to go sleep elsewhere. I talked about that, in fact, in one of my other videos. In fact, I'll include the link for it below in case you want the full story. But that's pretty much it, right? Pretty interesting stuff. It seems like this couple, whoever they were, these very, very bad, evil people, they decided to do this baby killing. And then when that happened, it looks like the ghost of this evil man is basically there admiring his work, unfortunately. And then it's causing the rest of the people there who knew about him and obviously knew about the experience and were quote unquote kind enough to tell the new roomie about it as well, that he likes to watch. It's eerie stuff, creepy stuff, but definitely wanted to share it here. But let me know what you guys think. Please post those comments below. Anyone else have a similar experience with regards to anything paranormal, a ghost, or someone else that likes to be able to just walk around or stare from an area? please let me know. That reminds me of one other story. I might save it. I mentioned it before too, but I'll save it for another encounter. And it has to do with another ghost that loved to watch people. But this time they were in a church or something involving a church. So that's another experience that I'll mention here later on. All right, everybody. Thanks again as always. Take care. Bye.